So, yeah, Shantoto, we know. So today is currently January 4th. That is the date for the Greatest Hunt. That is the event that just launched. 6 days from now, or 5 hours, or 5 days, 23 hours, and 3 minutes from now, will be the Onion Knight Rises on January 10th. Final Fantasy III event. Let's take a look at it. And while we're at it, let's see if we can get in Lear's edit version. Because we're going to need it. Thank you. So what do we got here? We have a new skill. It's a really good and highly anticipated new skill. Earth Knights have been kind of slumming it for a bit. Only having Gaia Cross available to them. Because it tops out at 2 hits and has a lowish multiplier. But Earthbringer fixes all of that because it comes in with the exact same stats as Guardbringer. And everybody knows how good that ability is. And it also gets buffed along with Guardbringer. A month, 2 months, whatever, not too long from now. Up to 5 hits. Same multiplier, but spread over 5 hits rather than 4. Uses major holy orbs. And we have 2 more holy abilities coming with Assault Saber and Earth Saber in the future. So if you plan on investing in Knights at all, like if you plan on pulling in the Orlando banner, or you already have Marsh's USB, be prepared to throw down some holy orbs. New Legend Spheres. Onion Knight is it. That's it. And his Legend Spheres are very basic, but different from everybody else's. You just get 6% physical or 6% BLK. That's it. So he has a bad Legend Dive. Everyone else gets 9%. Onion Knight gets only 6%. Because you're only going to be one of these at any given time. That was a joke, by the way. Because Onion Knight gets 2 LM2s. He just skips over that silly Legend Material 1. And we're going to go and take a look at that right now. Something went wrong. Please reload. Okay. Pretty easy. Instead of a Legend Material 1, like, you know, increases X damage dealt by 10 or 15%, he just gets a 35% chance to dual cast Celerity abilities. And his real LM2 is 35% chance to dual cast Black Magic abilities. Pretty simple. You're either using Onion Knight for physical or for magical. And for physical, he is a Celerity character. For magical, he is a Black Magic character. That's it. They do not work well together, obviously. Though I suppose you could run Dervish and Meltdown together. Whatever. How this works is Onion Knight's dive is actually pronged, unlike other people's. You can get his basic stats, and then you can go off and get his LM1, or you can go off and get his LM2. You do not have to dive him to make him a 35% chance to dual cast Celerity if you don't want to. You can get everything else for him. What is the name of his LMR reference? I do not know. I know very little about Onion Knight because I never played any of the Dissidia games, nor did I play Final Fantasy III. So, he's actually kind of a... I barely knew anything. I barely knew the character existed prior to Record Keeper. So anyway, that's Onion Knight's Legend Dive. It's extremely good. He is the only person that gets 35% chance to dual cast Black Magic, I believe. So that's all that's coming with the event, and let's take a look at the single banner. Makes the preview pretty easy, but it is quite it's quite the banner. Onion Knight will be the first character that is released with 2 USBs immediately, and they are both on this banner. This will be the first Realm banner that we have that has 4 6 stars at the top, just like our past 2 festivals. So let's take a look at those 6 stars. Onion Knight's Mace of Zeus. This is his, what we call the Sage Mode USB. We typically say that his magical USB is the USB 1, but some people don't know that we typically say that. So it's not really typical. It's not common knowledge enough. So instead, I call it the Sage Mode USB, because it gives X Mode Sage. And the second USB was X Mode Ninja, even though it has nothing to do with ninjas, because he is a celerity character. I suppose I'm glad for that, because if they had made him 25 or 35% chance to dual cast Ninja and made it work more with ninja abilities, Onion Knight would be a character unsuitable for this game. Unsuitable for the game. Because ninja abilities are just super strong, will celerity or not. Alright, well, anyway, Mace of Zeus, Onion Knight's first USB. Sealed Wisdom, Party Haste. So, Onion Knight is just the haste guy. Magic Mind and Resistance plus 30%. Quick Cast Magic 3. And Self X Mode Sage. By default, this is really just good. Quick Cast Magic 3, a tri buff for Magic and Mind, so this will also work for White Mage teams made of like Sid Reigns and Rem and Arc and Mim Wu. Because it has a mind buff on it, so that's a really nice thing for them. This is what definitely helps out those types of teams a lot. And from that point on, it's a lot easier getting another buff that affects mind. So that allows you to use offensive white mages, where it could have been difficult to use them in the past, even though they do tend to self buff themselves really well. But anyway, this is a really good entry, and he also gets an X mode, and the X mode itself is just magic plus 30% and increase in black magic damage. So this is Onion Knight just turning himself into a mage on a mage party, and he's going to do a lot of magic damage with that magic 30%. The magic 30% you get from the buff on cast, his black magic damage that's in his Legend Dive. And I believe the small increase in black magic damage is 15%? Yeah, it's 15% more damage. Anyway, this is widely considered to be the best relic on the banner. Because Sage Mode is just that powerful. Well, not Sage Mode, sorry. The Sage USB is that powerful. The Magic Mind and Resistance buff is extremely rare. Quick Cast Magic 3 is awesome for a mage team. And Party Haste is obviously a really good thing for him to make Omide out. Next up is a very similar Soul Break, and that is the Onion Blade USB Sealed Might Party Haste. Again, attack plus 50%, so we've got a shout buff here. but it doesn't stop there. Also gives the team a crit fix at critical 50%. And it doesn't stop there. He also gets X-Mode Ninja. X-Mode Ninja is attack plus 30% and stacking cast time reduction with each action up to 8 stages. So Furion already has access to this, but Furion is bad. Onion Knight is not. Furion is a holy character that can't do holy damage. But Onion Knight is a... what's effectively a non-elemental character, but also becomes a really good wind damage dealer. When that ability gets introduced into the game, which I believe is in March. There's a 5-star celerity ability that does wind damage. So it makes Onion Knight an extremely powerful wind damage dealer using this USB plus his 35% chance to dual cast and the stacking attack speed buff that increases every time you use it over that 15 seconds. Yeah, I know his holy damage comes in the form of a soul break. But right, as Albedo says, for now, it's Dervish time. Dervish is basically the best thing that Onion Knight can do. If you even want to go damage, you don't have to. But because of Onion Knight's large ability pool, he doesn't have to use celerity. It's not a must. That attack, stacking a cast speed buff is for everything. If you just want to do non-elemental, then Dervish is the thing. But what Onion Knight can also do is use 5-star ninja abilities for dealing dark damage, for dealing earth damage, and for dealing water damage. So he's good on those 3 teams as well. Otherwise, Rathan and Trust, that's always a good option. Protectka, Kurata, he's also a good healer. He's just, his versatility is what makes him what he is. And, yep, both of these USBs are phenomenal. They're not hybrid at all. So you do have to think about that if you're making a hybrid team. But a lot of characters, some of the best characters in the game right now, are able to self-buff themselves. So you are able to say, okay, well, you're on your own. Onion Knight's going to buff the other side of the party. Or you could just use Onion Knight's Burst Soul Break. It's not like that's a bad thing at this point. Ninjas do not have Earth moves at the moment, but they will be getting one in February. Well, 2 in February that mimic the current Water and Dark ninja abilities that we have. One to generate physical blink stacks, and one to capitalize on them by having a higher hit count with the more physical blink stacks that you have. So both of these USBs are awesome. I think a lot of people side with the Sage Mode more because it's more rare. You'll see this USB is haste and attack plus 30 or 50%. That is exactly what we see on Shout. It's exactly what we see on, is it Cheer that it's called? Basically Ram's things. And eventually we're going to be getting more of these as well. Queena gets one, which is really good, by the way. Queena is really good. And we also get one from Rex. And in the future, there are a lot more, way out in the future, there are a lot more attack plus 50% buffs, which wouldn't stack with this. They come on all of the new chains that we get. Yes, it shares the same ID even though it gives crit. Because these are separate IDs. This ID is for haste, this ID is for attack 50%, and this ID is for critical 50%. Now, this is definitely better than all of those at doing what it does because of that critical 50%, but there are situations where I can think of where I want to use ROMs over Onion Knight. And one of those situations is you want to take advantage of that Wrath command that is on Ramza's BSB2. The reason why you would want to do that is you want to free up an ability slot. Why would you want to do that? Well, supports have a really cool thing called Affliction Break. And having a support that's able to be an Entrust bot using Wrath and Entrust, and you being able to use a third ability for Affliction Break is a very important thing. And we're going to find that out in the future, because the 4-star Magicites are much more status heavy. I know a lot of people out there hate Fenrir, they hate Golem, because they inflict statuses. And ones that can really screw you up, especially Fenrir with the slows. So being able to Affliction Break bosses, also Affliction Break affects the chance for a boss to imperil you. That is also something Affliction Break affects. So there may be team compositions that you use where it is more important that you make the team more consistent and more survivable with an Affliction Break than it is making them more damaging with a critical 50%. And that's where Ramza competes with Onion Knight. Onion Knight is, on the whole, going to be better because there are ways you can make up for losing the Affliction Break, but it's not like Ramza gets pushed out completely. He does not. The crit buff is the same as Echo. Okay, so moving on, now that we've got 2 extremely good utility USBs out of the way. This is good for veteran accounts, and those are good for newbie accounts. It just doesn't matter how old your account is, this is going to be a good thing. And carrying on, we have 2 more USBs to talk about. Okay, with Orlando and Cloud is a good mention. Yeah, I will go into that before Raffia. Orlando and Cloud give themselves 100% crit rate, and you can overwrite that crit rate with Onion Knight's 50%, which is, it's a downgrade, it's a debuff. So, yeah, that's something to think about, but in most cases it's not going to come into play, because Onion Knight's USB is something that you're going to be casting at the beginning of the battle, while Orlando's and Cloud's will at least be, even if you do cast Orlando's and Clouds on the first turn, you just time it properly. You know, you use Onion Knight and then you use Cloud, and then Clouds will be the second one, and he'll give himself 100% crit rate. Just make sure you cast Onion Knights first. That's all. Okay. Next up, we have Refia and her Metal Knuckles USB. This is not new. And nor is the next one Cloud of Darknesses, but they are both good USBs, which round out a really powerful 6-star top end on this banner. Refia's Flaming Love, 10 single target, fire non-elemental, and fire, self quick cast 1 and high critical, and gain quick cast 1 when using fire damage abilities over her for a period of time. This is fire quick cycle. You start with quick cast 1, and when you use a fire ability, you just gain yourself quick cast 1 again, and you keep on rolling it. Rolling. And this works not just for abilities, so this is kind of misleading. It also works for soul breaks. So if you were to use Refia's USB, and then if you were to get like entrusted or something, and then use Refia's BSB, that would also trigger another quick cast because it's a fire damaging attack. It is not limited to abilities. This is just like the first instance of this Lightning. When we talked about this when Lightning first got her USB. She has a high quick cast cycle, which also works with her Burst Soul Break too. So instead of what a lot of characters get with their quick cycle, which is an attack buff of some sort, Refia doesn't. Refia gets a high critical buff, which means that every time she critically hits, she gets a 50%, a plus 50% attack buff on top of that. So using the 50% crit buff would cancel the 100% crit and replace it if used after. Yes, Ryluk. But Onion Knight just pretty much goes first. But that's something to keep in mind for other forms of the buff. Say Zell's BSB, for instance. That's not something you typically use at the beginning of the battle. That's why when we run multiplayer in the chat, we usually frown upon using Zell's BSB on the same team as Cloud's USB. And because they're both good non-elemental soul breaks, it can happen quite often. Because anytime Zell's BSB is cast, it's going to overwrite Cloud's. Anyway, back to Refia. So Refia doesn't gain any benefit from this unless she has a crit buff in the party. Luckily, there is a crit buff on the same banner in Onion Knight's USB too. And luckily, Refia also has a self buff on her Burst Soul Break on the same banner. On her Dance of Carnage burst. She gives herself self-crit 50%. It does stink that it needs to come from an external source, and it's useless otherwise, but these things added together are extremely powerful, and though Refia is pretty much just a quick cycle, she's a very powerful one, and yeah, she's probably worthy of getting an entrust to help her out in a battle. It doesn't need to be a big one, because she's able to generate, because she's a quick cycler, she generates more soul break than most people. So, using them both together is a thing, but it does come at a cost. It's not something that's self-sufficient like, say, Sabin's USB. What game is this? So the characters mentioned from Final Fantasy Tactics. Some of them. This game is Final Fantasy Record Keeper, and it comes from... It draws from all Final Fantasies. Tactics is one of them. So that's Refia's USB. It's very good. Next up, we have Cloud of Darkness's USB, which is a lot more basic and easy to understand. It's a USB wide-angle particle beam, 7 area effect, dark and lightning magic. I don't know why it's lightning. It's probably just thematic. And dark, and party magic and resistance plus 30%, and additionally cast thunder when using dark element damage abilities. This is mostly a clone of Rydia's USB, where it's elemental damage, an element, and party magic and resistance plus 30%. It's a party buff that gives her end dark. Where she differs is that she additionally gets a chase, which is not a strong chase, but at least it's a chase. You're going to be using Cloud of Darkness as a party buffer with this. But I'll talk to you about what I would think is its most preferred use once I get to the bottom of this status. How many statuses for lightning? That's a lot of statuses. Alright, we'll look up the soul break itself. Lightning follow-up. The lightning follow-up is a single hit of 4.4 damage. So it's something, but it's not much. That's half the potency of a normal burst command. So yeah, a 4.4 on a single hit is actually quite powerful. That's going to be hitting 10,000 almost every time. But it's still only 10,000 in a chase. So it's not that powerful. So a lot of people look at Cloud of Darkness as USB and say, oh, that's not that great. Well, and they're pretty much right. But it does have a place on Darkness teams. The matching resistance buff is really nice. But where I think that this comes into play mostly is I'm going to talk about one of the relics that we see in the Burst Soul Break section. And it's one of the best... probably the best soul break of the Burst Soul Break section. Well, no, it's not. Anyway, Cloud of Darkness's Bizarre Staff. The Zero-type Wave Cannon. Wait till you get a load of this one. 6 area of effect Dark Non-Elemental, Party Magic and Mind plus 30%, and Doom and Haste. The weird wording on this is a little vague, so I'll clarify for you. This is Party Magic and Mind plus 30%, Party Doom, and Party Haste. So this is a Haska Burst Soul Break that gives a party buff and dooms the party. And it's not a normal doom. It's not a normal Memento Mori doom, it is a 30-second doom. Leaving no question of what this doom is specifically for, and that is for 30-second clearing content. Because you'd better clear it in 30 seconds or you're screwed. But that's a really interesting thing on a Mage Darkness team, because they generally benefit from having Doom on them, especially people like Sid Reigns and Kusha. And anyone that wants to use Dark Zone, one of the most powerful 5-star abilities in the game. So Cloud of Darkness actually becomes a really powerful Haska and can replace Onion Knight in many situations. So where does Cloud of Darkness's USB come into this? Well, sometimes you need someone to entrust to. And what happens here is Cloud of Darkness will go into using her burst. She'll help out the party with that, and then have a a Magic Bargain command. She self-buffs herself, and Self-Darkness 15% for 3 turns on her commands. And then she needs something to do, and she can get entrusted to and also use her USB if you have it available to you. And this is just so many party buffs that those turns that you would have otherwise wasted were not wasted. Yeah, wasted on Memento Mori. You don't mind wasting those turns on Memento Mori because it's a very, very powerful buff. But what if you didn't have to? What if you didn't need to blow a turn on dealing only 10,000 damage and you could do 40,000 instead with something like Dark Zone? Or you could use Wrath for a faster Burst Soul Break on Sid Reigns. That's where Cloud of Darkness kind of comes into play. On a Darkness team, she becomes the only buffs that you need, especially if you have Sid Reigns. Then you're talking about way too many buffs. So that's interesting, and I've noticed this on some of the teams that I've created now, is that when you have so many sources of buffs on the team, you can start concentrating on other things. And on my Mist Dragon team right now, I used a double cast Black Magic on Sid Reigns because he does a guaranteed 40,000 damage with his first command. And I imagine you could do that. You don't have to use Sid Reigns' second command. You don't need to use Memento Mori. You just do it. And I think that's what Cloud of Darkness can provide to some teams. That is, honestly, that's a lot of words dedicated to me not actually thinking that highly of Cloud of Darkness's USB, because that makes her Burst Soul Break 2 her USB. And her USB is basically a Super Soul Break that you use to augment her BSB. But it's still nice. It's still nice, and it's nice that they appear on the same banner, and neither of them are misses, because even Cloud of Darkness's USB by itself is still a party buff that gets her End Dark, and Darkness mages can make better use of that than other mages because their abilities are extremely powerful, whether that be Dire Heal or Dark Zone. So it's not a bad pickup, but it's definitely not as good as the other 3 6-stars here. But it's still not bad. Alright, so next up we'll move into the Burst Soul Break section, which starts out with Ingus's Burst Soul Break 2. The Faithful Escudo. 8 single target Earth physical damage. Is it really just limited to Earth instead of Earth and non-elemental? That'd be weird for a burst. No, Earth non-elemental. So it was a little mix-up here. Party Earth, Radiant Shield, and Burst Mode. So it's pretty basic, but Is Earth Radiant Shield a good enough buff for this to be a useful burst soul break in the era of USBs? Yes. Yes, it is. What Earth Radiant Shield is a party mirror, damage mirror. Just like you see on Tifa's USB, Alphino's Super Soul Break, stuff like that. But instead of being a complete 100 damage mirror, it's a 75% damage mirror, so it's weaker, but it's elemental. So it can benefit from damage boosts, it can benefit from Imperil, it benefits from vulnerability, and most importantly, it benefits from chain effects. Not only the chain effects themselves, but each packet of reflected or mirrored damage is counts onto the chain. So if the boss uses a area of effect ability on you, that will mirror 5 packets of damage onto the boss, all Earth type, and add 5 notches to the chain. Which is interesting that this appears on Ingus, because Ingus is the holder of the chain. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. He would definitely have to be entrusted to get both of these things off. Is Terra worth legending with USB? Yes. The burst mode itself, what are the commands? We have 3 single target physical, Knight plus 15% for 3 turns, and self attack and defense plus 50%. This command does no damage. It is an interesting buff though, but I highly doubt that I would ever actually use it. I'm thinking that with this Burst Soul Break, you're going to want to cast it at the beginning of the battle. It's a 30-second buff, so it lasts 5 seconds longer than most buffs. Definitely something you want at the beginning of the fight. And what do you do from there? You probably use Gaia Cross and Earthbringer on him. Possibly with his first command. It is for 3 turns, so it's an easy rotation. You would use his first command, Gaia Cross, Earthbringer. First command, Earthbringer, Earthbringer. Yeah. Faster, but he does lose an attack buff if you do that boss. If you're using that attack buff. A single stat attack buff like you see on Onion Knight's USB 2. Yes, Cloud of Darkness's Legend Dive is not good at all. We haven't gotten to the best and my most favorite way to use Cloud of Darkness yet. We'll get to that when we get to the Legend Materia. But anyway, what you're going to want to use this for is, well, Magicite bosses deal an extreme amount of damage, so just having access to this is good. It's kind of something that's hard to describe what the 75% damage return is. But look at it this way. At the very least, if you're hitting a 50% vulnerable boss, that increases the damage output to match Radiant Shield. And you can add to it from there. So with a little work, this can start returning some pretty extreme amounts of damage to the boss. So next up we have Cloud of Darkness's BSB. Already went over it. Love it. This is Cloud of Darkness's best relic, in my opinion. So what's interesting so far is I have highlighted 2 Burst Soul Breaks that are good and still highly relevant to the current meta of the game, which is not unheard of, but still rare. And it doesn't stop there, but it does at least for the time being. Right now we have Arya and Ark's Burst Soul Breaks, which are just healer bursts. This is Ark's Burst Soul Break 1. It's not his Burst Soul Break 2. But I mean, I'm going to go over them. Arya's Burst Soul Break is made of water, Medica, Kuraka Medica, and Party Minor Bar Fire. It's just minor fire resistance, so a 10% fire resistance to party. Not that powerful. The commands aren't bad though. The 0 cast time Kuraka with high regen, I like that command, and obviously the Medica command. So the commands are nice. It's a nice healer burst for healing. and a light amount of protection. But it's we've had access to healer burst for so long in the game that I'm sure there's a lot. Almost everybody out there is probably going to have something better than this available to them, whether that be, God, anybody. Ago, Vanille, Deuce, Hell, Ishtola, Afmau, Yuna, Porum. It's just, there's a whole bunch of them out there that are just better than this. But it's, you know, I suppose if you feel like you need one of these in Final Fantasy III for whatever reason, I think with Unicorn and Enkidu and Kurata in the game, that having in-realm healer bursts or healer soul breaks at all is not as valuable as it once was. So I don't really place a high amount of value on stuff like this, and nor will I on the next one. Aria's is better than this. Ark's is older and just bad. 5 single target, holy, non-elemental. White damage, Cura Medica, and Self-Mind plus 30%. The commands are Curaja and Asuna, so this is exactly Ultra Cure. Just generates less soul break points, and a Medica command. So, no instacast. First command is just, this is the boob of the banner, right here. I don't think there's anything worse than it. So, in my opinion, we've run into 2 soul breaks that aren't terribly useful. But that is 6 soul breaks in, so that's not so bad. Or 8 soul breaks in. So let's get to the last 2 burst soul breaks on the banner, which is Onion Knight and his burst soul break, and Refia and hers. I did talk about Refia's, which is a really nice burst that gives her crit 50%. Great on Refia. It's fire armor, so that's good by itself. So that's actually a really good pickup. And Onion Knight's Burst Soul Break is Legend, and is a very, very good pickup if you do not have it. Regardless of whether you have access to Onion Knight's USBs or not, his Burst Soul Break is completely hybrid, and is still probably going to find some use on some teams, even with the USBs in action. The gauntlets themselves, I think, are, what? Petrify resist? Blind resist, aren't they? Yeah, so whatever. So these are 2 good bursts. Not a good dupe here. Refia's is fine for a dupe. So that's all 6 bursts that appear on the banner. 4 out of 6 is a pretty good number for good bursts. And more if you find value in Aria and Ark's bursts. So we got 4 Legend Materia, and if you'll notice, this is the first Realm banner where there are no Super Soul Breaks on it. And this will happen in the future. Anytime that there is an event that comes out that has no new characters on it, there will be no Super Soul Breaks on it. Super Soul Breaks will only be put on banners that have new characters for that event. Like with the Dorgon event. We get Kelger and Zazat. So we will get Super Soul Breaks on that banner, but we don't mind because Kelger's Super Soul Break is obscenely powerful, so that's okay. Anyway, Legend Materia here. Onion Knight's Onion Cape. Probably the best relic on the banner. Debatable, but it's a good debate, and I don't mind having it. Onion Knight's Onion Cape is a start battle with Instacast 2. Just does crazy stupid things for Onion Knight. Him being able to start out with this and him being a primary source of Heiska for a lot of people, means that this speeds up a battle considerably. Often, the way we start off battles right now is people will finish their first action before they have Heiska, so they'll be charging super slow. Or, you know, Onion Knight will be able to, you know, just instantly cast a Heiska. The only person that can match this is, what's it? Saz and Ramza. which who both start out with haste and instacast 1. No, Ramza doesn't start out with haste. He starts out with instant ATB, even better. But they're the only two that can really exceed it. Onion Knight can't, but instantly giving the party haste when his ATB comes up at the beginning of the battle is a really powerful and time-saving thing. And I know people equate time saving to 30-second clears and stuff like that, which is not a realm of the game that not everybody takes part in. I disagree with that. I think being speedy is good for everybody. It's good for, you know, however you play the game, because everyone deals with time limits. There's buffs. Tyro does not start off with haste. Tyro gets instacast too, just like Onion Knight. It's just Ramza and Saz. Because of buffs and debuffs, everyone's dealing with time limits at all times. It doesn't matter who you are or how you play the game. So I think just being fast is a very good thing, and it's beneficial to everybody. I just think this is probably the best pickup on the banner. Next up we have Refia and her Tunic, which is Maiden's Charm, low chance to double cast fire damage abilities. Very good thing for her. Refia has an issue with dealing damage because she doesn't have access to a chase. She's just a quick cycle. So she only deals 4 hits a turn, while this turns it into a potential 25% chance of 8 hits per turn. So that's just a really good thing for her. And I think Refia becomes one of the best fire damage dealers in the game if you have her LMR and USB. So this would be a good thing to pick up for her. Next up, we have the completion of Cloud of Darkness, in my opinion. Her LMR is Legend of Materia, Dark's Floodborn. Really? Let's see what we're calling it in global. Spawn of Darkness. Well, that makes a hell of a lot more sense. Thank you. Start battle with Endark. Starting the battle with Endark is really good for some characters, and Cloud of Darkness is one of the best, because she can start out the battle being a Heiska, and starting her with Endark and casting this on the first turn means you're going to do a lot of damage with it, plus 80% damage, and then she can take advantage of the commands as Endark commands, or just have her just use Dark Zone, because she's dooming everybody, so she doesn't need to use Memento Mori. Or because Cloud of Darkness is a White Mage 4, you can have her Protect and Shelgon first turn after the BSB, and then use Dark Zone. I don't care. Regardless, Cloud of Darkness becomes just a really powerful buffer for a Dark Mage scene. With her BSB, and especially with her BSB and LMR. And lastly, we have the Robe of Lords on Arc. Reader's Intellect up, medium, mind up, based on number of white magic abilities used. This is pretty bad for Arc's current incarnation. Becomes better, but really still not that useful when Arc gets his USB. Does conflict with Aphmau, so I would not want to use the Aphmau Yuna Porum buff with Cloud of Darkness. Deuce. Or just get a buff from elsewhere. Or don't worry about buffs. I mean, that is something that Darkness teams don't have to worry about as much, Bliven, because Sid reigns. Starting the battle off with Cloud Darkness BSB2 and then Sid Reigns BSB gives you 2 party buffs and you're set, I think. Especially if you also have access to Cloud Darkness's USB. Or Ishtola Heal or Larsa for a status blink if that's necessary for the party.
Are you drunk?
Cloud of Darkness's next Soul Break is an OSB. Thank you, Jimbo. What's everyone feel about this banner? Organic bits. Oh, sorry. The banner is okay. So, without being hype about it, I will say that this is one of the best banners. There's no way to drain the hype from this. This is one of the best banners we've ever seen. And what's really nice about it is I can say that with confidence because there are very, very few accounts that don't benefit in a very extreme way from this banner because it's utility focused. Onion Knight is a character that could theoretically be the most powerful character on every team that you make. We hype up Bart's USB for good reason. Because him and his USB is actually really good for, at the very least, 4 different teams. Because of the 4 elements that he does. Wind, water, earth, and fire. But because of Snow Spell Strike, he could theoretically be a really powerful character on an ice team as well. That's great. That's so flexible and versatile, and it gives you a lot of value just in a single relic that a lot of people can't mimic. Look, for instance, Refia's USB is a really good fire USB, but it's just good for a fire team. And with everything in the game being elementally focused right now, people that can cover multiple elements are the more valuable characters. Onion Knight goes a step beyond that and says, well, I'm not going to bother with being elementally focused or not. I'm just going to help both physical and magical teams of every single element. And because of the fact that they're utility focused like that, and you're seeing Ari and Ark's burst soul breaks here, is that this is good for day 1 accounts as well as day 1, like brand new accounts. You just made it. And day 1 accounts as I've been playing since day 1. And another thing beyond that, beyond the fact that it's so utility focused and so good for that, is that it doesn't penalize you for going after these things because it has a good supporting cast. Refia's USB is a very powerful fire USB. Cloud of Darkness is a powerful dark USB. Ingus's Burst Soul Break 2 is actually an extremely good Earth Burst. Cloud of Darkness's Burst Soul Break is an extremely good Darkness buffer. Onion Knight's Burst, fantastic for everybody. Refia's Burst Soul Break is still a very good Fire Burst. And the only bad Legend Materia relic here is Ark's, and that may not even be that bad in the future. Because the thing about Ark is he's a healer, right? His Legend Dive is, his LM1 is 15% increased healing, and his second Legend Materia is 35% chance to dual cast white magic abilities. That's healer stuff, right? Well, Ark gets a USB in the future that makes him an extremely powerful white offensive mage. So that LM1 is actually just useless. His Legend Materia relic makes up for that, so you could use this instead. Ark gets a really powerful USB. I think it's a rank-based chase. So if you have an R5 Holy, he does a 6-hit chase. No, I'm not talking this up. I would be very unhappy to see the Robe of Lords on this pull, because I have no, guarantee that I'm going to end up with Arc's USB in the future. And even if I did, it's still not that great of a legend materia. It's just a mine buff. The only added little bit of value to it is because it can be difficult to find mine buffs outside of Onion Knight's USB, USB 1, the Sage mode. So being able to self-buff himself is actually useful. So I believe what's being talked about in the chat right now is Onion Knight's USBs do show up in the future. And they do. Just like they've done with Onion Knight's Burst Soul Break currently, is it comes with every festival. It appears on every single Final Fantasy III banner, or every single Final Fantasy III event. Things this powerful must be easily accessible, or it creates such exclusion that it's bad for the community and it's bad for the game. So from a game design aspect, it makes sense for them to put these everywhere, and they will. So that is a big don't overcommit. Just because this banner is as good as it is, do not overcommit. And you may have things. I think Solus is in a very unique situation where he has things that make this banner not as amazing as it is. It's really crazy. Edward's USB is like just a step below Onion Knight's USB. I believe it's Quick Cast Magic 2 and shaves off the Sage mode, which isn't that useful anyway if you're using Onion Knight as an Entrust bot. So it's just slightly weaker if you're using your support as an Entrust bot. So that is something that mimics Onion Knights. And but I like using my Onion Knight as a damage dealer on a lot of my teams, so I would obviously prefer this. And I think everyone should, but that's something that's only a slight improvement over where a lot of people don't have an Edward's USB. That's a massive improvement. And Onion Knight's USB, as I said, has some things that are almost as good as it as like Ram's BSB2, and in the future, if they plan on pulling for Beatrix's USB and Queen's USB, that'll be something as well. Or if you have Shout. So this may not be like the end-all be-all banner for you. So don't overcommit. Remember, a good supporting cast is just that. It's a supporting cast and should only be gone after if all of these things line up with things that you need for your teams. I can go into why I feel that way by going to the Gacha Simulator. I will be pulling on this banner. This is an extremely good banner for me. And depending on things I get, I'm just going to make some pulls. So we can amass... Oh my god. So we can get a picture of things and when to stop. And, like, when not to overcommit. This isn't even fair. I wouldn't be able to pull any more than here. Any more than this. Because you've taken away the strength of the banner, and if you've taken away the strength of the banner, it makes everything else that you could get off it more replaceable. Yes, Ingus's Burst Soul Break 2 is a good Earth Relic, but you could get that elsewhere, especially the Final Fantasy V banner coming up, which has Kelger and Dorgon on it. Which would both probably be more valuable to a party than Ingus's Burst Soul Break 2. Dark Magic, you can get that in a lot of places. And you can get Dark Physical as well. Orlando is a fantastic character on any team because he self-buffs himself 50% with his X mode instead of 30%, which people normally get. So he's more of a hybrid character. So by taking off two of the most powerful relics on the banner, which would be Onion Knight's USB 1 and Onion Knight's LMR, it makes this banner just not as good for your mithril anymore. 2 pulls, yeah, but you know, you could get this in 3, you could get this in 4. I'm just trying to use the simulator later as a way of saying, okay, if I were to pull any more on this banner, it would be chasing, and it's overcommitting, and I understand that I'm putting my mithril at high risk instead of the pulls that came before it, you know, before we had these things. Okay, I have 0 of this, then this is a good banner. It's important to, like, mill those things over in your mind, I suppose. Is there a link? Yes. 1, this is the link to the sim. 2, Call, thank you very much. This is a link to my event list, which is where I have the links to all of the Gacha Sims for. So if you're looking for, like, another banner to find the simulator for, just in the future, you know, to teach a man to fish, whatever, head on to the event list and you'll find it for every single banner that we know of. All the way up to the Final Fantasy IV event that's current in Japan right now. Start shoveling driveways for pull money, yeah. I haven't had to worry about that here. It's one thing I don't miss about living back in New England. Thank you again, Call, for the 7 months. We're getting close to what Twitch calls Twitch babies. Once you get to 9 months, you've given birth with your sub. Yeah, Solus, of the ash that's falling from the sky. That's what we get here. Refia's LMR. It's obviously not a good first pull. I think Refia with her Burst Soul Break is still a good character. Because of that crit, 50% crit buff that comes for free on her Burst. And I do have it. So this wouldn't be a bad draw. She could be used on a powerful fire team with her Burst, just spamming, you know, critting 50% crit rate fires withins. And then hopefully dual casting him. So it wouldn't be a bad draw, but obviously not something that you're actually looking for. Here we change that. With Onion Knights, this is his crit rate, you know, physical B or USB. This is the Robe of Lords, by the way. Fear this icon. And this is Cloud of Darkness's Burst Soul Break too. So this is a really good draw. Getting both these two buffing soul breaks together. Okay, Solus says, so yeah, let me make this clear again. I agree with Dirge's hype for this banner, but I'm saying that throwing money at Final Fantasy Record Keeper is never a good idea unless you can spare it, and one particular relic is never a necessity. It's true. Just, don't get overwhelmed by the hype. Especially because Onion Knight's things are gonna come again. And not too far down the road, both of his USBs did appear in, the 3rd anniversary for Japan, and they will for us as well, because that's just the way it works with Onion Knight. Onion Knight has to be everywhere, because he's just too good otherwise. He's a gift to the community. He is the chosen one. His LMR makes things a little more interesting. This is a weird pull. I like all 3 of the relics that I've gotten so far, but with his Sage mode and LMR left to go on this banner. Agreed, I'm planning 4 to 6 pulls, but I saved Mithril for 4 months just for this, and this stuff has made a gigantic impact on your account. It absolutely will. I'm not trying to downplay it too much. This banner will make a gigantic impact for you. 4 to 6 pulls sounds like a top end, and I may go there. I hope I don't have to. I hope I'm able to get out with taking enough away from the banner to make it not worth it anymore. After like 150, 200, that would be nice. I want to make a joke question, but the answer is yes. This banner is good. Yeah. Wednesday of next week. That is the mind date. Yes, Strider. I'm predicting that it's going to rain Refu USBs trying to get OK USBs. Every time I use the sim, I get a 5-to-1 ratio of refused USBs versus OK USBs. Well, it's not awful. Lemonade. Thank you. Yeah, new player's guide is coming, and I am approaching the end of the tier list, so that's good. We do need a new player guide. I get reminded that we need one every single week. I probably should have done the new player guide before I started doing the tier lists. People were just clamoring, and it had been 6 months since I did it. 2 to 3 onion things is still... Well, that's not my only stopping point, Raccoon. I may do 1 of 3, depending on the banner, depending on my pulls. If there's no supporting cast anymore, then I can't really pull for Onionite things anymore. Yeah, the timer is until the Onionite banner hits. I'm going to make it fun. Wednesday of next week is going to be a really fun stream. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 good things still to pull on the banner, and 2 of them being the prizes. I think that's still a pull. So we get Refia's... Is that new? Yeah, it is new. We get Refia and we get Ingus's Bursal Break too. That may shrink the banner enough. After 150 Mithril. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 good things left. Yeah, I don't think that's enough. From a DPS standpoint, Fires Within. What was your question, Blyven? Oh. That is a pretty super serious question, and I don't know. I think you're in a tough place. Really could go either way. It's really, you know... you know what? You probably should skip it. You should just skip it. You know what? Let's look ahead to the next Final Fantasy III banner. Which would be a couple weeks after the next festival. It's like directly after I've got the Final Fantasy 13 Sid Reigns banner, and after that is Ingus Arc. Arc's USB, offensive white mage. Ingus USB is a very strong physical earth. Aria USB is a kind of a poop healer USB. And Onion Knight's Ninja Mode USB shows up here. But that's 3 really good USBs at the top of this banner. And do we have anything good in the bursts? Ingus BSB2. Onion Knight BSB again. Lunith's bursts will break. Lunith is due in Japan. They unceremoniously gave him a UOSB in the 3rd anniversary. No, Arya never gets good. This has been in the game for a very long time. Yeah, he could definitely use a USB too. Though Lunith does get better when a 5-star Wind Spellblade is added to the game, so he doesn't have to use Aerial Dive. He's still really good. Lunith is a very good character. Yeah, please don't pull on the newcomer draws. They're traps. They're awful. Awful. Even at half Mithril, they're really just terrible. I suppose they're there for people that want to re-roll their accounts. Can he? People were telling me. What the people were telling me that Lunith can't use Celerity 5. But he can. I knew it. Celerity 5. Thank you. So he doesn't have to wait for the friggin' Spellblade. So Lunith actually gets really good with his USB. He turns into a Wind version of Lightning. Is Sid Final Fantasy VII's Ultra good? Yes, it is. Don't pull in the newcomer banners. There's so much bad stuff on them that the only reason to pull on them would be if you want to re-roll your account. But re-rolling in this game is a tough ask unless there is an active huge Mithril buff, a Mithril gift in the game. So you can get up to 25 Mithril almost immediately. And then just hope you score something good. Yeah. But I don't think re-rolling is really all that useful in this game. No, Lunith gets a high quick cycle. Shimra. And he has an LM2 that gives him Hasten Instacast 3, so he really is just a Wind version of Lightning. Yeah, we got it as stage rewards for the stuff that we fought. But we didn't get any, like, deposited into our mailbox. 33 free pulp? Yeah, probably. Japan didn't get an Orb Fest either, Blyven. So it didn't replace it at all. Yeah, Orb Fest is permanently active. Do you have conditions? No. Fire and holy? Okay. No, they didn't, Adia. They got one in the current festival. That's different. Please do not equate Japan's 6 months in the future festival to our current festival. That's not the way that works. Final Fantasy XII event ended tonight, Lemonade. Yeah, the events that happen during the festivals usually do last longer because we are, you know, getting bombarded with things to do, so people may not have the time. What's up? Oh shit! Holy shit! Thank you. What's up?
Found out about Subway.
What happened?
They're doing the $5 for ones again.
Yeah, but it's 3 and they're not tuna.
Yeah, it's not tuna. That's why I don't mind. I gotta order this for now.
Hopefully they switch back. Well, I don't mind this one because I like the ham. Yeah. Yeah, a roommate got me some food. Oh, chat's telling me to, and your RW came up on my screen. You're using Master Thief for Riku, but you have her equipped for Mind. So they wanted me to insult you about your RW.
Okay. I changed it. That's weird. Master Thief? What is Master Thief do?
It's a single target non-elemental damage that reduces their attack and resistance and gives you an attack and resistance buff.
She's obviously supposed to have it.
We're supposed to have her USB.
Yeah.
Yeah, free food, man. I'm in. Yes, Master Thief is a good Super Soul Break. I've used it many times in the past. Just not much of an RW, that's all. Alright, multiplayer? Does anyone want to do the multiplayer? Shit, I did the event. Guys, it's not going to happen this time. I'm not going to start up stream on Sunday and all of a sudden, oh, I have to complete, you know, the 110 and the D120s. Banner review of food? You don't want a banner review of this food. Tortilla chip. Animations? Alright, I guess. Yeah, sure. Animations. Then we'll do multiplayer. I need some time to get, stamina back anyway. Alright, so I added a link to the Soul Break animations video. Oh, shit. There we go. To the record keeper sidebar on the website. So if anyone wants to go and look at animation videos, you can always do that whenever you want now. And before I go into the animations, I'm just going to say one more time. Last night I completed the Earth and Lightning tier lists. Good old Kane, Shantoto, Ash, and Lightning. So you want to go check those out. Those are on the website. Oh, actually want to be on this page. Soul Break animation videos. Alright, so what are we looking at in this event? Onion Knight's 2 USBs, which actually I think the animations stink. But at least they're short. Really? Was I that tired that I did that? Inga Storgon, Orlando. I don't know. I think I missed something. Anyway, no, I did not Blyven. So this is the Sage mode USB. That's it. That is the Sage icon. That is what he does. And can you guess what he's gonna do in this one? Ninja mode. At least they know how to use them, or Onion Knight. Ninja abilities. Cloud of Darkness's Burst Soul Break 2. That gets a seal of approval. That's a magic bargain command. That's an awesome command 1. Ingus, Burst Soul Break 2. That was Party Doom 15 too. Yes, it was. No, the Magic Bargain command is not area of effect. Pretty good. Pretty good. I like that. I like that part at the end. I want to watch that again. Where he gives the party Earth Radiant Shield. Well, the self-buff command does at least look cool. Man, looks cool too. What else is new? Actually, that's it. Can I read katakana? Yes.
Are you drunk? No, I'm drunk.
Thank you very much, Raptorcorn.
ASMR now.
Are we now? Well, I can be happy about that, I suppose. Yeah.